Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from HolsingerSlyShop.com. Bringing another time video this week, and it's a Euro nymph pattern. It's a competition style pattern that's been around for a little while. Lots of fish have been caught on it, and it's a good one. It's a Duracell jig. It's a very simple, easy pattern to tie, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it this week. I'm just going to get into tying it for you here. Like always, guys, change the colors, change the size, but use this as your basis for how to tie the fly. Here you're going to see a picture of the fly, then the material list to tie it. Okay, here you see the Duracell jig in the vise. Pretty easy fly to tie. Let's get into tying it. Just a couple pieces of material in this one, and won't take long. So for a hook, I'm using a Holsinger Sly Shop Jig hook. This is a size 16. For a bead, I'm using a metallic pink 2.8 millimeter slotted bead. For thread, we're using some Semperfli Nano silk in black. This is 12 aught. I'm just going to start it on there behind the bead. And the slots on these are a little bit big. So I'll take and press it up there with my thumb and make a whole bunch of wraps trying to lock that in place. Just try to get enough wraps there that it stays in place. There we go. And then I'm just going to bring my thread back the hook a little bit. Next thing we're going to put on is some cocktail on for tailing. This is medium Pardo. Use whatever color Pardo you have. And I'm going to take about 8 or so tail fibers, and we're just going to set them on top of the hook. Set them on top of the hook, get them wrapped down there, and then we'll adjust it to the length we want it. I want the length of my tail to be about the length of the hook shank. You can go a little bit long on this, but don't go real long. And then wrap it back up to the bead and trim it off. Next thing we're going to use is some red Brassie ultra wire. This is going to be a ribbing on the fly, and I like to just stick that in the back of the slot there and then tie it down. We're just going to tie it back there to our tail. Now we're going to use some ice dub. This is chocolate brown SLF, SLF Prism Chocolate Brown. You can use brown ice dub if you have it. I use a lot of Prism. So I'm just going to get this on there pretty tight. I don't want it to be too thick. So just get a nice tight noodle on here. Push it right up there to the hook, and then we're going to go right back to the tail and start wrapping it forward. Like I said, don't build it up too big. We're going to build it up right up there to that bead. If we get too much, just pull a little bit of that off. And then we're going to rib it. You can counter rib this one. If you counter rib it in the ice dub like this or Prism, it tends to show up just a little bit better. And then we're just going to tie that off right behind the bead. And then helicopter my wire off. Now, I like to make sure that tail comes straight off the back there like you see. And the next thing we're going to put on is a C.D.C duck feather. And this one's brown, and I'm just going to pinch it by the tips and stroke it backwards. As you can see there, I got all the fibers standing straight out. Then I'm going to put that in one of my clamps. This is my Swiss C.D.C clamp. And here you can see I put it in there, and then I trimmed the shank of the feather off. So just cut it right along the base of that feather and just have the butt sections cut like you see there. Now I'm going to make a dubbing loop, and I'm going to use my Swiss C.D.C tool for this, for my dubbing loop. It's the best one I found, but use whatever dubbing loop tool you have or like to use. I really like my Swiss C.D.C clamp. And just make a couple wraps around there, once around the thread to tie off the front of it. And then when I get my dubbing loop made with my Swiss C.D.C tool, I'm going to take and split the thread in half. So I have 2 pieces of thread that is where I'm going to stick my C.D.C fibers in. So I'm just going to stick that right in the middle. Let those 2 pieces of thread come together. And as you see there, I got just the butt section sticking out of my thread. That's what I'm wanting right there. And then I'm going to stick my finger behind them, give a twist on my Swiss C.D.C tool, spin them around good, and it's going to make a nice C.D.C brush. With that, we're just going to make a couple wraps around behind the bead here. And as I do that, I'm going to stroke these fibers backwards. And then we're going to tie that thread off, tie our dubbing loop off. Now you could actually stop right there. You would be fine stopping right there. But I'm going to add just a touch more dubbing to make just a little collar right there in front of that. That's the way the Duracell Jig pattern calls for it. It has a collar there. And I'm going back to that chocolate brown dubbing, chocolate brown prism. Again, going very thin. I don't want to overpower this thing. Stroke those fibers back. Make a couple wraps to get that collar on. And then we're going to whip finish right behind the bead. And that is all that's to the Duracell Jig. Pretty easy fly to tie, and it's a good searching pattern, good stained colored water pattern because it's dark. Anytime I get in dark water, this is the kind of fly I'm going to be fishing. So there you go. Oh, and next thing I'll do is I'll stroke all these C.D.C feathers back, and I'll pull them off. I won't cut them, I'll pull them. And I want them about the length of the tail there, like you can see there. Nice buggy looking Euro style pattern. Okay guys, I hope you like this simple pattern. Very quick, easy one to tie. And like I said at the beginning, change the colors up on it to match different species and stuff like that. This is a generic style nymph, and tie it lighter for lighter insects in your stream. Tie it black if you want a black one, whatever you want to do there. Have fun tying, that's what's important. Don't get caught up on the bead colors either. These pink beads look really cool, but I don't put a lot of stock in bead color. Some things I do like them on, but for the most part, I don't put a lot of stock in bead color. For instance, I know a lot of guys that will determine the bead color determines the size of the fly in their box. So if it's a size 16, it's a pink bead. If it's a size 18, it's a gold bead, so on and so forth, like that. So, you know, they're not buying into the gold or the color of the bead either. And I know guys that are diehard silver or diehard gold and won't fish anything else. So beads aren't that important to me. What's important is the tungsten that's going to get me down to the bottom quick. Have fun tying, guys. Any of the material you need, like always. Thank you for supporting our shop at holsingerslyshop.com. And if you need any of these things to tie your flies, please head over to our website there. If you have any questions, you can always email me at holsingerslyshop@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Until I bring you another video next week, I'm Sean Holsinger.